on to another topic that's also controversial from one of our Facebook Live viewers. This is a viewer who does not agree with the two bills that were introduced today by Representative Tony Cornish dealing with permitless carry and stand your ground. This viewer doesn't agree with either of those views and wants to know what our panel thinks about these two bills. Who should we start with here? Who wants to start with this? So should we start with you, Senator Benson?
Okay. I apologize. I was not aware that Representative Cornish had dropped these bills. I was a little distracted with some activity on the floor today. But I think one of the things, stand your ground, as it's sometimes referred to, is just my right to not have to retreat if I feel threatened or feel the need to protect my family. And we used to have a cabin out near where my parents live. And what if I was in the garden there and my kids were with me and somebody came in the driveway that I was not familiar with and I felt threatened? Would I have to, run, try to get my kids to a safe place, or could I use what I had to defend myself? So the stand your ground or right to protect yourself isn't about guns. It's about, do you have a right to use a weapon in your own defense, or do you have to run away? And so that's kind of how I frame that. And I have not read the permitless carry, and I have not seen its introduction, and so I'm not going to comment on that tonight.
Representative Hortman?
Yeah, I think a lot of people misunderstand where we are in Minnesota on stand your ground right now. You don't have to retreat from your own home. We really already have the ability to defend ourselves in our own home. The thing about the stand your ground legislation that's passed in other states around the country is it leads to these problems when people aren't in their home, and you have the neighborhood watch guy walking around thinking that he's supposed to shoot anybody who he thinks is scary. And we have seen that these laws have unintended consequences. So nobody should be confused about the fact that in Minnesota, if you're in your house and somebody comes in, you absolutely have the right to defend yourself by whatever means necessary. The question is, do we take that out into the public streets, and does that make our communities safer or not? And I think there's pretty good evidence from around the country that doesn't make our communities safer. But I think it's highly unlikely that any gun legislation is going to pass into law this year. We have a Republican House and a Republican Senate, and we have a Democratic governor. I think probably the status quo on guns will stand in Minnesota, and we're not likely to see change. And so I would rather we didn't spend a lot of time arguing with each other and fighting about it when we could maybe spend time on things where we're more likely to find common ground and get something done.
Representative Albrecht?
Well, I'm a co-author on both bills, and the reason that I signed on to both bills is from the standpoint of that we live in a very different age than we did even 10 years ago. And to the point of, everyone's familiar with the Castle Doctrine, and I don't even think that it goes to that point, but, we deal with circumstances like we've seen in the news just yesterday, what happened in St. Cloud and whatnot, where, there is a defensible action that should be every person's right. In terms of person, family, and belongings, that doesn't entirely relate just to where they live, but where they are. And so, for that standpoint, I think I would look forward to a robust conversation about those two bills. Whether the minority leader is in agreement or not, I think that I think there will be a conversation about those, and we'll have to see where they proceed. But I do think that it is an opportunity for us to have a conversation about what is a personal right to protection.